Alrighty. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Live on Main this Friday night at 6 p.m., 6:02 maybe. I think we might have taken a couple extra minutes. Joining me this evening is George Foster Leal. We've got a mute. Can you know what the mute button is? Is there a mute button? It's up top there. No, don't shut it. No, it's on the top row. No, the top row of keys. The keys. Yeah, there's a mute button. Yeah, wait, it muted. Yeah.
Perfect.
All right, so there we go. Sorry about that, folks.
Technical difficulties.
Yes, and so with
There
me
won't be
is
any more of these.
George Foster Leal, who one of his most recent books, I'll tell you, it's on. He's an author. He's a novelist. He's a historical novelist. But in this case, you'd call this a documentary, wouldn't you?
I would call it a documentary. I wanted to call it a biography, but it's actually about three musicians and small band. We all know people in small bands and musicians, and so this was a story about a small band that, as John Lennon said, didn't make it very big. But
well,
they were great, and they're still out there playing. So
yeah, well, we have to mention that when the book was written, and not that long ago, 1 year ago, 2 years ago,
right,
a couple of years ago, these folks were back together. Now, I first saw them, was it 1976 at the Cricket with Apoplexy? These guys,
I believe it was, yeah. That's where they started. Yeah.
And this fellow was 25 at the time. That's Inky Fair.
Right.
And Doug Betchart was 19. I think he might have been going to Berkeley at the time.
He was.
And Inky Fair was Tom Yates. I think he had mentioned that he went to Berkeley, but I'm not sure for how long. These three guys were in several bands and during that time period. Then they formed a band, Apoplexy, which I actually saw them in 1976 when they first played. And that's my connection. George now works with one of the guys.
I work with Inky, Walter Fair, and we had been talking about doing a book and biography, a story about a small rock and roll band in America, and it's, I think, every young American boy's dream anyway. Years ago to play in a band and get out there and perform, and Inky convinced me with a little strong arm tactics to start researching and start writing the novel. And I really enjoyed it. It was great. The follow-up with that was my wife and I and my sister Debbie became almost groupies as we followed the band around for a spring for a season, and went to the clubs and went to the places that they play, and introduced the book and introduced the band. And the audience there was lucky enough, not that they wanted my signature, but they got a signature from Fair, Yates, and Betchart as well. So.
Well, I think I got yours.
Oh no, you do have mine.
I have your signature on this book.
Yeah.
And I saw this on eBay. This very book on eBay for like $85 the other day. But I think
that was only for you, though.
Well, there was another one for like $96. But let me just point out that I think it's like $15. Is it something like that?
It's $15.
Yeah. Okay. So I don't know. Somebody thought it was a good thing to try to get $96 from it. They probably didn't understand.
It was probably Inky Fair, if I know him well. So.
And then before after Apoplexy and so forth, they played at Timothy Spirits. Right. I don't even know if you can see that. I've got this thing here. And
I have this thing here, too.
Okay. Alrighty.
Coming soon, and it was the story of the band and the story of the novel and everything coming out. And I saw those three guys in that picture. I said, they just reek rock and roll, and I don't give an F attitude. And I said, I loved it. I wanted to do the novel about them. So
that reminds me, the book is a little R-rated.
It is, but it's less R-rated than Ozzy Osbourne's bio about his life in rock and roll. So you have to understand that. It's a little R-rated.
Now, this picture is in there too, right? The picture of the album?
Yes, it is.
Okay, this album is like a gazillion years old. And, they might have signed your book, but I just want to tell you, I have the sleeve signed from a million years ago.
Wow.
Right there.
Wow.
See, isn't that something?
They used a quill pen for that too, so that was nice.
Yes. No, that was, I think that was hammer and chisel.
Yeah.
So the band really did, Phineas and Betcha, kind of, I think what happened is the bars got less busy because the 18-year-olds couldn't drink there anymore. They got loaded when the age went down to 18.
Right.
And so they kind of lost their gig. It was a sad day. It was myself and two friends, I think, on their last day at Timothy Spirits, and I recorded it. I have it on reel to reel.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah. So but I mean, who's going to set that up? That thing weighs a fortune.
Oh.
So they were a fantastic band. And I loved reading your book because I recognized so much of the personalities. You really captured the personalities.
Oh, thank you. Thanks. Yeah.
And I really enjoyed that, and the time frame too. The recording at AAA Studios of that particular album I just showed you.
Right.
Right. And a lot of other time frame that you talked about.
They really captured the essence of when everyone was going out to bars and before everybody had the the sound system that every home seems to have nowadays. You went out to bars to listen to bands. That's what you did. And everybody went out and they were part of it. It was a great, vibrant time, and it was, they were there. And I'll tell you, they were the rock and roll local stars. And they still, to this day, have a following. If people hear that they're playing, they'll be there. So they still have a draw. It's amazing.
And
so
the band has kind of changed a little since the book, which is strange for all those years they were kind of the same, yeah. And then all of a sudden there's a book about them, and they decide that they're going to have a different getup. And so what happened is Tom Yates went on to other things because he's great. They're all three of them incredible musicians. And Tom Yates went on to do his own thing, Paisley Project, and some other stuff. Working Man's Band, right, I think, is one of his projects.
What he's doing now, right?
And so Tom asked if anyone would mind, I suppose, if he did that. Now, he did that 40 years ago, too, I think. So, Tom, don't be doing this every 40 years, you know. Make up your mind.
We're running out of years for you to come up with that again. But Tom, they each have their own distinct style, and Tom really he loves the blues and he loves his own style, and again, they've had a long run. They've had a very good long run. It's been fantastic for all of them. And now they're still out there playing. They're still out there, and I just want to speak for a moment about the title of the book was. When Inky and I started talking about it, and of course, I was a little sarcastic and skeptical, and I said, let's call it The Fool on the Hill. I kind of like that. And then one night when I was doing an interview at our house with my wife Pam, Inky, and myself, and I said to him, why are you still out there doing it? It's 40 years later. Why are you doing it? What are you doing? He goes, I think we're still out there waiting for the next applause. That's what we're doing. And I said, whoa, wait, waiting for the next applause. That's the name of the book. I've got it. I got the essence. I got the soul. And that's what I titled it. So,
and there it is.
Better than Fool on the Hill, I think. I think Inky appreciates that too. But again, you're waiting for the next applause. Why do you get up and play? Why are you out there? Why are you playing in gigs? We have to wait for everybody to finish their cheeseburgers and move the tables aside before they stick you in a corner. Well, they love performing. They love performing to a live audience. So they are waiting for the next applause. I loved it. So.
Now, Inky turned 70 earlier this year, didn't he?
He did, as a matter of fact, in December, yes. We were there. He was playing at Jasper Hill in Holliston, and it was a great birthday party for him. He looks a lot younger, and he acts a lot younger, certainly. So, but he did turn 70, but they're still out there playing. Then again, the famous bands are still out there playing. The Rolling Stones, Paul McCartney, they're all out there, and they're in their 70s, and they're all out there playing still. So,
And the best two of them, they're probably playing somewhere tonight.
as a matter of fact, they have this weekend off, so I
okay.
should have advised you of that before we did this interview.
No, that's okay. That's okay. Oh, maybe they're home watching.
I'm sure they're all home watching this right now.
Yes. Yeah. And so, when are they playing next? Do you know? Next weekend?
I think they're at Knobscott's Cafe in that's on the outskirts of Framingham. Next weekend, I think he'll be live at my house having a cookout because he has another weekend off. So hopefully we'll see Walter Inky Fair at our house next week. But
now, if you want to see them on our YouTube channel, go to our YouTube channel and search on our channel for Knobscott. Just put in Knobscott, and you should be able to see one of the things I recorded, I don't know, maybe 4 years ago. Glenn Evans joins them. Glenn Evans, one of the best drummers you'll see.
Right. My wife and I were actually there that night, and when Glenn Evans stepped in, they brought him in. He had the hat, the cowboy hat on, and played, and they played. What a performance when the four of them got together. It was amazing. So,
and they all love each other. They're
definitely,
they because they can play so well together. And that's a gift. That doesn't happen overnight.
Right. And other musicians talk about it, and they say they're so tight. They're a tight band, right. Meaning they don't miss notes. They don't. They all start together. They all end together. They all and they harmonize well. They synchronize well. They're a great band. So.
And now that book that's a couple years old. What have you written one since?
I've written. A few cents. Yes. I keep myself busy writing novels. I'm actually a historical fiction writer. That's what I love to do. And this, of course, Waiting for the Next Applause was a little bit of fiction, but a lot of fact. But it was historical. It was writing. It was almost like writing a biography. I was able to interview each one of the three of them separately, together. My wife and I interviewed them together several times. So that was, right now I do a lot of research for my fiction, and I'm doing a lot of research for fiction that happened 200 years ago, 1,000 years ago. But to be able to research and talk to the characters that are still alive today, that's great. So that was different for me. But again, it was, in effect, a historical novel. But I have written several historical novels.
What's your latest one? Have you brought it with you?
I do have it here.
All right. He'll be right back, folks.
I'll be right back.
Away.
Don't mind me. I'm just waiting for the prop girl to bring these in to me.
Oh, yeah. Very good.
Thank you, honey. So the latest one is The Lost Treasure of Oak Island here, which is, there was a TV series about this. It's still ongoing today. So the TV series says, there's a lost treasure. We're digging down. We're looking for it. Well, my hero is a former Navy SEAL. He's a scuba diver, skin diver. He said, you're going about it all wrong. I'm going to come in from the bay and come up through the subterranean caverns and look for the treasure below.
You're not going to give it away, are you?
Well, no.
All right, good.
If you want to find out, you can purchase the book. Yes.
Okay. The Lost Treasure of Oak Island by George Foster Leal.
Right.
Is this like Whitehall on a choppy day, or
this? My brother actually took a picture and put that on the front, and I made it the cover. And that's actually a picture right up in that area of Nova Scotia. This takes place off the coast of, obviously, Nova Scotia, Oak Island.
And that's where Oak Island is.
Yeah, right. My brother does all the covers so far, with the exception of Waiting for the Next Applause.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
No problem.
And then, but he's done all of them. The novel before that, since I wrote Waiting for the Next Applause, was The Lost City of Alexandria. So here you go.
Oh, thanks very much.
That's the story of. Again, my hero is down there in the Mediterranean, and Alexandria, the greatest city in the ancient world, was submerged in a tidal wave. Cleopatra's tomb, everything was lost. To this day, no one's found Cleopatra's tomb.
I mean, that's all real?
That's all real.
Wow.
And, well, you'll have to read it and find out if my hero finds the tomb or not. But it's very exciting. You know, I got to do camel chases. I got to do in the desert. I got to do everything, you know, a fiction writer loves to do. A la Indiana Jones type of thing. So that was very exciting for me. And I also got to write in Cleopatra's voice and Alexander the Great's voice. So I write historical fiction from the actual date that it was occurring, and then I write today's novel, what's happening now as we're investigating and digging down into the sands and diving into the Mediterranean or diving off of Oak Island. So I love doing these books.
The Lost City of Alexandria. I thought, well, gee, maybe George would let me read a little passage, and it was like a steamy novel. So
well, there was a little steaminess in there because my wife, you know, years ago when I wrote my first novel, she said, "Wait, it would be really nice if you spice it up a little bit. Everybody likes a little love interest and whatever." And then, honey, it was 32 guys on the ship, you know, in 1600s. So she convinced me, though, to spice it up. So you have to be careful where you open that and read, more so if there are younger children in the room.
Yes, yes. Do not watch this movie with the kids.
Right. Oh, has it become a movie?
Well, you know,
well,
I mean, eventually, right? Someday.
Right.
Someday. I feel so
At some
bad.
point.
You know, sometimes you forget the other half. And I said to my friend, "Oh, that movie is so good." What was it? There was a Big Lebowski, and of course he goes and gets it and puts it on, and come on, honey. Bob says this movie's great. Well, that's not a chick flick, if I may say so.
No.
Myself, I think I've done.
These are though they're romantic, they're action, and there's a lot of historical information in them. So you really, you know, I've always looked at history like it has so many mysteries. There's so many gaps, holes, so many historical stories with no real ending, and then that lends itself to fiction. Well, my fiction anyway. So I'm hoping that people get to enjoy that and get to look at it and get to look at history the way I've looked at it. So it's very open-ended, right?
Alexandria.
Right. Cleopatra's tomb, to this day, has not been found. Unless you read my novel, then.
The Lost Treasure of Oak Island. All this stuff is lost, and you're finding it.
Right, lost. Well, it's Leal's Lost series I'm developing now.
I feel like I've been kicked off the island.
Right,
I know nothing about these places. But I will after I read them. So, and what I like your rhythm. You know, as I'm thumbing through the pages, I'm seeing a very good rhythm with the sentences, and you know, almost song-like, in that we pause and have a short one, and we go on with a beautiful compound sentence, and then we have maybe another short one, and then
the chorus and the refrain, of course.
Yes,
sure.
It's very, very nice.
Well, thank you. That's a nice compliment.
Very nice. I can see that immediately. Now, for you, what have you done to read? Did you go to the library and you read about these places and to get a feel? Do you get a feel for the historical sense of it, the time period, and the place?
I actually, you know, I have a lot of ideas come into me. People suggest things, and what about this? But a lot of times it's just myself thinking, and I love to read history and love to research. So as I'm reading and researching, I'm coming up with ideas. And oh, what if this happened? We don't have an ending to the story, so how do we know how Cleopatra died? And well, we know it was the asp, and we know it was, where is she buried? So there's a lot of mysteries in history that it's filled with gaps and holes that I love to try. That's where my fiction comes in. I love to try and fill that in and find out things. And when I start researching, you know, everybody, oh, you go to the library, you go to Google, you go, you know, I love to actually buy books that I can then mark up and dog ear and whatever. And I do my own research. Years ago, you had nothing but the library.
Right.
And I go to the library. I remember my first novel taking my young family into Boston Public Library for many boring, I'm sure, Saturday afternoons while Dad did his research, But that was the way it was then. It's a lot different now, of course.
Right.
You have a
Yeah.
lot more resources available to them.
Is it fantastic? The problem, though, I think, and no, I'm not saying with your research,
Oh,
but with the internet itself, the World Wide Web, is that there is so much information out there. Someone once put it to me as it's like the Dark Ages because stories of dragons in the Dark Ages and magic
right.
and all these other things that they heard about. We kind of hear the same thing when we look on the internet or we look on our Facebook and people have put this ridiculous thing feed in our feed, and you wonder, well, I'm not clicking on that. That's what I do
Right.
now. I don't click on it. And some people surf the web and they find these incredible photos, which you kind of know aren't real, because how could they be so incredibly beautiful?
Well, that is
And
true.
some are real, by the way.
But that is true. And I myself, I'm very old school. I like a book. I like to go to a beach. I like to see people at the beach with an actual book in their hand. Of course, now there's a lot of different technology, and not a lot of people buy novels anymore, buy books. But I love books. I love the smell of old books. So I look at it, literature as an art, and perhaps in some manner it's a dying art, but because of the flood of information that overwhelms our senses every time you click on something nowadays. If you turn on anything electronic, like we're doing now, you're going to get info. So
True,
yeah.
true. And I think you've given a lot this evening about what you're doing. And these things are, these books, I see these things, sorry. What kind of search on Amazon, what would the search criteria be? Because when I did it, and you have to say George Foster Leal in each case.
Thank you. Yeah,
Is that
George
right?
Foster, yes, yeah. You do that, or you also can do, history. If you know which novel you're talking about or interested in, you can do that. You can go on my website. We have that.
What's your website name?
Well, the website is very original. It's www.georgefosterleal.com. Did I tell you I was old school? I'm old school.
No, that's
See, I can't
fine.
forget that.
That's
so,
fine. That's
yeah.
fine because GeorgeFosterLeal.com.
Right.
That's not a bad thing. And Eric, have you been running the graphic every so often underneath us? Oh, great. Thank you. So now I notice we've got some books with various paper types here. One is more expensive than the other, no doubt. And I see some with larger print. Larger, is that larger print? Yes. And
Yeah, sure.
larger spaces between the lines.
And you know,
How
it
do you
happens to be a thicker book.
How do you decide? It's double spaced.
Yeah, well, that's why.
But why do you double space some and not others?
Well, I will tell you, these two novels you have in your hand,
I thought
The
I was
Lost
gonna
City
get
of
away with them.
Alexandria was produced by Archway Publishing, a division of Simon & Schuster.
Oh.
And I'm there, this is my big break. I'm going to make it. That's it. No, not so much. This one I produced on CreateSpace, and I wanted an easier to read novel, so
Oh.
I got to put in what I wanted. I got to put in my brother's pen and ink drawings. I got to put in the info I wanted. This novel, they edited quite a bit. The first in my Lost series was The Lost Colony of Roanoke. They took
Right,
out 34 pages of writing. It was historical writing. Nobody wants to know about that. Nobody wants to know. I'm like, oh, no, I think people do. So you lose a lot of control when you have an editor and you have a publisher. And just like in the music industry, which you're well aware of, people go, oh, they made $1 million record. They didn't make $1 million.
Right.
I'll tell you who made it, and it wasn't the musicians. Same with he's $1 million best-selling author. I didn't make $1 million. I haven't made anywhere near that, but I didn't make $1 million. Who made it? The publisher, the book distributors, the editor, the agent. Everybody gets a piece of you. Same as in the music industry. So this was one of the last ones I did, and I said, they call that action adventure, which is exactly what it is. It's one of the last ones I did. Traditionally, I may go back there again, but I like having control. And
Now,
I
is there
like
any
doing what I-
supernatural stuff in the lost city of Alexandria?
No,
No, not like the Raiders of the Lost Ark or whatever
No.
that thing was with
No.
with what's his name?
No. No, I deal with fiction and then reality in today's world and
Mhm.
how I bring the two of them together. That's
Okay,
my
no,
story.
you don't have to have any supernatural stuff. That's okay. I don't mind.
No, I'm a fiction writer, not a science fiction writer. So I write.
Yeah.
I like to write historical fiction, not
So
science. fiction.
what's the name of the guy that was in that movie with the hat?
You mean Harrison Ford?
Yeah. So those are like supernatural kind of things that go on there.
Well, they are, but they're based on a historical fact or a historical mystery of the Lost Ark or the Covenant or whatever. And then Indiana goes looking for it. So maybe I borrowed a little bit from that, but mine are not that far-fetched. And my hero isn't as attractive or inept as Indiana Jones is. He's a Navy SEAL and he can handle himself. So that's
good. And that's the Lost City.
That's all of these.
All of
He's
them.
in. He's in everyone.
the
He's
hero of
looking
everyone.
everywhere.
Oh, I gotta read that. Can I buy that one? The Lost City.
You can. You can.
Okay, good. I'm glad you came.
Matter of fact, and my wife with me here tonight, so you can take care of all the finances with her.
And I think she wants you to pick up another one. Is that right?
Oh,
He'll be right back for a second. Don't go. Oh, remember the Spoon has some specials this evening. Check.
yeah, right.
Scroll down a little bit on the page, and you'll see the Spoon specials. I think they're having peppered swordfish is one of them. Prime ribs, another special. Some really great food there.
Are you talking about a menu in the middle of this interview?
Well,
I can't believe it.
You had your back to that.
So this is the
You
Lost
should be writing
Colony.
about food, maybe.
This is the Lost Colony of Roanoke. This was the
right,
first
yeah.
one. My brother did the cover of this.
Yeah, that's great. I like
It came
I like
out-
the blending of colors.
Came out beautifully, and again, small.
Wow, yeah.
And why? Well, I did not self-publish it. That's why.
Oh, okay.
So this is again done by American Book Publishing.
Uh-huh.
So I've had my first 6 novels. I had one publisher. He was from London, England. A beautiful little old gentleman in Paul Mole Publishing, and he passed away. And all of a sudden, I'm there. Who knows me now? Obviously, none of the 6 made me famous. Although the first one that we had published, I told my wife, I said to her, pick out the house you want on the coast of Maine. I'm the next Stephen King. I made it. I've gotten published. That's the first step. The second step is actually selling your novels and making money from them. So, but it took me a long time to get published. So I thought we were on our way. But
The Lost Colony of Roanoke.
yes.
Now, that was an actual lost colony. And all that was left was a board that said Croton.
Croydon, right.
So-
Correct. And it still is the oldest mystery in the United States. It's over 400 years old. Whatever happened to the
Virginia Dare was the first
Virginia Dare?
American.
Exactly. In the name of the county around that whole area is Dare County to this day.
Wow.
So, yeah, she was the first English-born child in America. Wow. So all that's in here, as well as the 34 pages the publisher took out, American Books, about the American Indians and their fascination with tobacco and how they grew it and how the Europeans first took it back. And the publisher said, nobody wants to read about that. I'm like, I think they do.
I think
where did it start? This is where it started. It's now. So I have the original version, which maybe I'll self-publish later on with all that info in it. But it really had a lot of good
And a lot of people don't know how precious tobacco is to the American natives.
No.
And it is, isn't it?
It was. It was used.
Well, it still is.
Very religious. And at that time, I hate to say this, everyone will hate me, but only the males could smoke it. So back then and use it. And it was planted in separate fields. They worshipped it. They didn't use it like we use it today, I don't think. But anyway, there was quite a bit of info in there.
I did say to a friend who is a native, and I never separated that from him. You know, okay, so he's a native, and okay, so be it. But one day I did, because I didn't understand how important the rituals were surrounding tobacco. I said, you know, you really got to quit smoking, because he was, you know, bad reporter.
Oh, no.
I'll get this one, bad reporter.
Yeah.
Because it is a very big part of what they do.
Right.
So sorry about that, native friend who I haven't seen for 15 years, but
probably because of that statement.
that could be. That could be.
That's what I think. Probably. That's
No, I don't want to say. I don't want to say the alternative. So, so what is it in there that they took out? The 34 pages.
They took out a lot about the local American Indians and how they completely were bewildered and trusted the Europeans, and how the Europeans continually. We were the first ones, by the way, who attacked at dawn, not the Indians, and we wiped out village after village because we were starving, the Europeans, we were starving and wanted their crops, wanted their food stores. Rather than bartering, we came in, a couple of blunderbusses and muskets go off, and the natives, panicked. So there's a lot of that was gone, and I hate to see it gone, but it really was our first initial contact with friendly natives who welcomed us. And what did we do? Well, we know the history now. Now we own the land. It's our land. It's America, but at one time it was their land.
Well, I wonder myself, what would we do? Now, there's a Voyager spacecraft, I believe, out there. 1987 might have been when they sent it out. Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, SETI,
right,
is one of the spacecraft that went out in 1987. It has a picture of a man, picture of a woman, and it has kind of a roadmap to Earth.
Right.
So I'm thinking, isn't that the perfect menu? Because this is what we do. We are of the highest order, we being human beings, are of the highest order on this planet. And, we just eat everything in sight. And sometimes just for fun, just to see, gee, what does that monkey, not myself, I don't eat monkey brains, but, they do in some places.
They did on the Indiana Jones movie, I think.
Oh, okay, yeah. And, human brains on the Hannibal Lecter movie.
Right.
I forget who that poor soul was, Ray Liotta. Right. But so what would happen if we actually were actually visited by, maybe science fiction would be your, you don't think about that stuff?
No.
No? Okay. No, all right, then.
No.
Then don't get into science fiction.
No, and the reason I don't write about modern history or modern wars is it's been so well documented and so well written and so, filmed and redone. Everybody's seen it, but you don't know about the ancient past, and that's what fascinates me. So.
And there's still folklore abound in our local lexicon. You can talk to people from Woodville, and you'll hear what happened at Woodville and the downtown, about the boot factories and so forth. And I know part of the DCR is Lookout Rock, and we actually have a video that my nephew did showing people how to get to Lookout Rock.
Oh, really?
Do you know what that is?
Yes. Yeah.
And it used to be called King Philip's Rock. I think the DCR wanted to be more, how would you say, PC?
Yes, a little more poetic too. So my wife and I have been to Lookout Rock. So
I love that place.
I took her there on a date. So very nice.
One day, and now supposedly King Philip of the Praying Indians had slaughtered. Of course, it's always slaughter if they do it.
Right.
Some settlers in Framingham, and then he fled to this rock and hid in a fissure at the bottom. I don't know how he got in. It's been skinny, very, very skinny.
I think so. Yeah.
But that was the local lore.
Right.
Which turned into a name for the place. But like I said, they've changed it to Lookout Rock, and so.
But we have King Philip High School, and so.
Oh right, yeah, very good. Yeah, what town is that in? Bellingham.
Rentham.
Rentham. Okay, and it was down there in the valley there somewhere.
Yeah. He is hidden somewhere.
So what else you got?
Well,
www.georgefosterleal.com. Don't forget that.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, this is the first novel I ever wrote, and it's called Desire Provoketh. And everybody goes, I had a friend of mine first pick it up and go, Desiree Provoketh. I didn't know you were writing about a dancer. I said, no, it's Desire Provoketh. And it's set in 1611. It's the story of the Hudson Mutiny. And Hudson was sailing, obviously in Hudson Strait and Hudson Bay, all frozen ice and horrible weather conditions. And they saw a land. It was all green, but it was surrounded by pack ice. Men couldn't get into it, and he named that island Desire Provoketh, because my men's desire was so provoketh that they wanted to mutiny against me. Well, that spring they did. And I was in a history class at Framingham State University now, and the professor said, on June 24th, 1611, Henry Hudson, his son, 7 others were put in a rowboat, never seen again. That's when Hudson died. And I'm like, wait, how do you know he died? Who said he died? He was a discoverer. He wasn't a captain. He didn't have maps. He made maps. As he advanced, he made maps. He was drawing where he was going. Now, how do you know he died? Maybe he lived. And so the first half of the novel was about their voyage up to the mutiny on June 24th, 1611. The second half is what I, as a fiction writer, think Henry Hudson and his son and the 7 others, what they might have done to survive. So,
can you give us a little tidbit?
I can't tell you anymore.
Okay, no problem. No problem. I want to read. I really want to read it.
But
now.
They met Native Americans and how some of them were friendly, some were not, based on how I treat you, how I treat my brother treats me. So they learned that early on. So
now, did you mix it up with any of the traditions of the natives or any of the habits of the natives? Like, did they eat certain foods? And
the second half of the novel, they ended up to survive living with the Native Americans.
Right.
Of course, a lot of that came through.
Good.
But it was based on, I actually was able to get my hands on Henry Hudson's original log, written, he was Dutch, of course, to begin with, and then translated into English. So I had day by day, northwest by southwest, 95 degrees. They didn't know what they were doing, but he was. So I had all his log. I knew exactly how he went through. Looking at today's map, where he was. And when they wintered in the ice in Hudson's Bay, and when they came out in the spring, his crew said, oh, he's going to take a right and go back to England and get us out of here. He took a left. He was looking for the Northwest Passage to the Indies, which, of course, doesn't exist.
Well, they never finished that one, did they?
No. So anyway, that's what started me off. And I was a young man, my 20s, wrote it, my first attempt at a novel. And many years later, having met my wife, we had a condo together, and I said, well, I want to go back to school. I want to, 4 nights a week, I want to get my master's degree, and I want to, this is what I want to do, and it'll take up weekends and everything. I said, will you support me? I'll support you. I said, great. Because what I want to do is pull out the old book, start writing it again, and see if I'm a writer. And she was able to support me and do that. Of course, I still worked, obviously, because we haven't made the supposed fortune. But I love writing, and this was my first novel. So.
George, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I think that you're going to do well. You're going to hit it one day, and everyone's going to go, where's this guy been?
Yeah.
I mean, this is one, and they're going to read back, and they'll make even more money. And can I just hold that book for a moment?
You can.
Ladies and gentlemen, desire provoketh in the Old English.
Thank you.
And this is available on Amazon.com and on GeorgeFosterLeal.com. Don't forget that address. George is local. George grew up in Hopkinton. His dad was a police officer. Brother still lives here. Is that correct? He still lives here?
That's correct. So is my sister. Yeah.
Yeah. And are they both election workers? Just your brother?
Just my brother.
Okay. So you might see him at the election sometime, and let him know that you watched the author on Hop News. And I hope we can have you back again.
I hope so too.
Another time. For those who didn't tune in during the live show, can watch this on YouTube, which is where we put all of our live shows following the performance. I'd like to thank you. I'd like to thank your wife Pam for bringing you along and helping you out through all this.
Yes.
And Eric Montville for putting on the headphones. And
thank you, Eric.
And doing all this other stuff. And then we're gonna thank the readers, and we're gonna fade out, and we're gonna be silent while the credits play. Bye bye.
Bye bye.